Today on the Topping Show, Bud Light is selling some of their beer brands. Bud Light sales are down about 26%. Is Bud Light censoring comments on other YouTube channels? A woman is fired for not working thanks to keystroke tracking technology. The ATF wants to ban private gun sales. Mike Pence finally qualifies for the upcoming Republican primary debate. Rumble will live stream Republican debate. Beyond Meat stock crashes, perhaps almost as bad as their taste. GM unveils an EV Cadillac Escalade. Proterra declares bankruptcy. Campbell's Soups to buy Rayo's sauce. And Tyson's Foods is unfortunately closing 4 plants. All of that and much more on The Topping Show. Thank you everyone for taking the time to tune in today. Today's episode of The Topping Show is sponsored by Topping Technologies. Topping Technologies is an IT value-added reseller and services company with a special proficiency in IT security. Heck, I see their founder at least twice a day. Gotta say, he's quite handsome and brilliant. He's me, that's the joke. If you're an IT leader or business owner, you need those assistants, you can reach the team at sales@toppingtechnologies.com. Now, going over to the business part of the podcast, you have General Motors unveiling the EV Cadillac Escalade, which, in terms of marketing department, maybe C-. They're going to call it the Escalade IQ, which other brands have used similar vernacular when it comes to naming their EV vehicles. But I suppose it still has the word Escalade in there so they can charge lots of money because it sounds fancy and expensive. Now, they claim that it's going to share little to nothing with the traditional models, traditional being the ones that actually currently make a profit for the company, known as the good old gas engine, the internal combustion engine. Of all the things General Motors has done over the past 100 plus years, the V8 was really one of their most, well, the bar's low, but one of the more reliable things they've created. They made a great V8. And thankfully, they're still reinvested in that category. I think they just committed about $1 billion, or a little bit under $1 billion a couple of quarters ago, because they realized they need to make a profit while they're transitioning to the EV category. Now, in terms of how they're claiming the Escalade is going to be, they're saying it's a reinvention of an icon rather than a replacement. And that's a quote unquote from General Motors, which, again, you're almost tarnishing the original brand. There's nothing wrong, well, unless you care about long-term reliability with an EV. There's nothing wrong with an EV except for that thing, but, well, depreciation. But inherently, if you want an EV, that's not a terrible thing, unless you really want to have fun. 3 pedals is key manual transmission for an automotive experience personally, but create a new vehicle. Instead of bastardizing what used to be your legacy brands, you see this General Motors is going to take the Camaro, which used to be one of the best-selling pony cars. It was one of the muscle cars, good old V8 with 3 pedals and manual transmission. Camaros this fiscal year, they're selling at about 151% compared to the last fiscal year, because they said it's going to be the last year with having it be a good old gas vehicle. They're actually going to have next year, the Camaro is going to be an EV 4-door sedan. So they're going to try, GM is going to pretend or try to make an exciting, sporty EV sedan, which I can't conceive them winning in that category, except for the 12 people who still work at General Motors who get the friends and family discount. I'm kidding, they probably have maybe have 28 people still working that. Calm down, you still work at GM, just kidding. But if you want an EV sporty vehicle, you're either going to buy a Tesla Model S, which they have the premium trim, I think it's a Tesla Model Plaid, which goes ridiculously fast, or if you want a more sporty EV 4-door, you can get the Porsche Taycan, which is, has its EV ground-up design. But no, they thought, let's just take one of our most beloved brands and dilute the brand. Will it be successful? I doubt so. Now, when it comes to getting back to the Cadillac Escalade, this is all part of Mary Barra, the CEO of General Motors. They promised Wall Street they're going to make EVs profitable, which, again, takes a lot of time and a lot of engineering skills that we'll see if they have them. But, I mean, it took Tesla years upon years to become profitable. And they also have a huge gap on the competition in terms of engineering proficiencies and all the capabilities and the manufacturing capabilities. And again, GM, they want their EV profits comparable to gas profits by mid-decade, which no, because the amount of upfront cost GM is going to have to do this is going to be pretty astronomical. And again, there's just so much more that goes into an EV in terms of cost when you look at the software. They basically have to build a tech company because of all the software that is needed to make an exceptional EV. That's why you look at Tesla's, you look at all the employees who work there, there's a lot of engineers who work at Tesla. Now, Mary Barra, again, going back to General Motors, they claim they want their EV revenue to be $90 billion by 2030, which, again, time shall tell. Now, Cadillac Vice President John Roth, he actually declined to discuss the Escalade's profit margins because they probably don't want to admit it is one of the more profitable things they create. That's part of the benefit of Cadillac is you charge more because it's viewed as more of a premium brand. So he's not telling us the actual profit margins, but he did say that when it comes to Escalade, that, quote, certainly carriers its fair share of weight. Now, current models, that the good old internal combustion engine Cadillac Escalade, they range from about $81,000 to $150,000, which is a pretty big gap. But granted, that's for the top, best of the line trim, best performance, but that's a huge amount of money that they could charge for those things, and people are still buying it. Granted, if you're a fan of GM or I was gonna say, if you just have a little bit of rudimentary automotive technology, a lot of these vehicles share the same assembly lines as the Chevrolet product line. You look at this with the Chevy Silverado and the GMC Sierra, those two trucks are the same factory. They just slap out badges, paint, and a couple of materials in the middle. So in terms of profit margins, GM should be very careful with how they manipulate, how they change Cadillac. Previously they said they're going to kill a Cadillac, I believe it's a CTS4, which has a twin turbo V6 with the main transmission. That's making huge waves in the automotive community and the enthusiast community. And the CTS-V, which I believe is a CT5, they also have the V8 with the manual transmission, one of their few vehicles left. And unfortunately, they said they're going to kill the manual transmission for the V6 twin turbo edition, which is the CT4. Again, Cadillac could do better with their marketing, although I'm sure a Cadillac enthusiast can tell you every single model number down to the little letters. But it'll be interesting to see how many of those customers follow them over. Now, again, Mary Barra has been very vocal, the CEO of General Motors. They want the company to be 100% EV by 2035, which the clock is ticking. The amount of lead time you need to all these transitions, it may sound like a long way away, but in terms of all the back-end logistics and all the planning they need to do, this needs to be something they're constantly working on. And even with all their efforts, they'll still decrease their headcount because she, like many other companies, they want to make the company more profitable. They're trying to trim the fat from it. And she wants Cadillac specifically to be 100% EV by 2030, which, again, is getting closer than we think. So it'll be interesting to see as Cadillac starts to transition. Will people pay so much money for a EV Cadillac Escalade? People are certainly paying for the Hummer EV, but I would argue that's much more of a boutique vehicle. There's relative to the volume of Cadillacs that are made, the Hummer EV is more of a novelty for the production scale. I mean, the Cadillac Escalade, that's something they make like McDonald's sandwiches, basically. They just pop them out of a press. I'm sure they do have a couple of models that require a little bit more fit and finish, but it's interesting to see they're starting to toy with their most profitable, important product that they sell, I would think. If you think of all the things that GM is making, the only thing that's pretty expensive is a Corvette. I'm not sure about how much profit the dealerships are, charging, 20, 30, 50, 100 grand over list price. I'm not sure the profit margins for GM on the specific Corvette, I would not think they'd be comparable to Cadillac Escalade. I mean, from a fiscal perspective, this is one of the most important vehicles. It'll be interesting to see, do they take a more balanced approach and keep the V8, or they just go all in, do a switch? Just a couple of days ago, Mercedes is coming back from an inline-4 engine for the AMG, which again, for them, AMG is the pinnacle of Mercedes. This was the hand-built engines in Germany. They had the inline-4. All the fans were, of course, extremely disappointed because the inline-4 having 4 cylinders is literally half as 8. I know US test scores at all-time low, so I'll do a little help here today. That's 50% less. So, two independent sources at Mercedes have both said they're bringing the V8 back by 2026 because the fans, the consumers, demand it. I can't help but think of probably a similar instance where someone who wants a Cadillac Escalade, they want that power of a V8, the reliability of a V8. They don't want to worry about charging times. And again, one of the difficult things with EVs and heavier vehicles, the heavier it is, the more of a drain it is on the batteries. So it'll be interesting to see, what does GM do from here? Their track record is, of course, worrisome to say the least in terms of what will they do, but they usually bounce back through bankruptcy. They've gone bankruptcy quite a few times, but they somehow always just keep, I was about to say roaring along, but in this case it might just be an EV noiselessly going along, which of course, yes, that sounds as exciting as the EV vehicle. Not too interesting. Thank you again for taking the time to tune in today. We're trying to get to 3,000 subscribers by the end of August, so you can click that button. I would greatly appreciate it. Also, don't forget to take the time to like and comment. The feedback greatly appreciated and helps grow the channel. Also, and lastly, don't forget to tell your family, tell your friends, tell your coworkers, heck, tell your enemies, tell anyone and everyone. Just stay safe and fight the good fight.